Hello and welcome. I am Enigmius, and this is episode 19 of the Ultimate Feed the Beast Reloaded. Today, we start work on the Mega Turtle Mark IV. Now, if you follow my channel for any length of time, you saw the previous iteration on the Mega Turtle. It was a cube that moves in 6 directions and mines with force fields. Well, there have been some changes to things. First of all, completely different mod pack. But also, the force field mod has changed. We've got some new considerations with regards to chunk loaders. And as always, bigger, badder, better. Half the fun in these is you build it and then you tweak it and you refine it and you make it more exciting and more interesting. So that's what we're going to try and do. To get started, we need to work on the motor unit. I say it's a 3-axis vehicle. Today we're going to be covering the horizontal axes. So 2 of the 3 axes today. The next episode we're going to do the 3rd axis, which is going to be very, very simple and straightforward compared to what we're looking at today, because most of what we need to do it will already be in place. And also in the next episode we're going to be looking at the force field. The 3rd episode we're going to be looking at the control mechanism. And then we're probably going to need a 4th episode to tie it all together and let it do its thing for a little while. So lots of stuff to cover. We're going to dive right in. This is a creative world that I threw together just so that I could do this kind of thing, which is show you kind of step by step the build process for each of the 2 modules. Now, the issue with the chunk loaders, especially with mining vehicles, is with the frame miners, you want to be able to send them off into wherever, off into the distance in your regular world, or quite often into a Mistcraft mining age, where you aren't necessarily going to be present to keep the chunks loaded manually just by being there. So you want a chunk loader on the frame machine. And what happens is there's a moment of time when the vehicle moves, when it goes from block A to block B, where the frame, all of the blocks that are part of the machine don't actually exist. They're just there for show, and then they rematerialize at their new destination. And when a chunk loader experiences that, it stops loading chunks for a brief period of time, which can cause some pretty severe problems, including but not limited to the destruction of the frame vehicle itself. We don't want that because these things can take quite a while to build. So what we want is ideally something that works in 2 different modules. So one module moves while the other one stays still with a chunk loader, keeps everything loaded, everything's happy. When the first module is done moving, it has a chunk loader as well that is now working properly. The second module moves, gets caught up, everything is perfect, nothing is unloaded, nothing is destroyed. So that's what we're going for here. And to get started, we're going to be looking at the top module. We're going to show you exactly how to build it. First of all, I would suggest starting with a 5x5 square of just regular support frames, and then knock out and replace as needed here. So you do 5x5 and then knock out for the motors. You can see there's a motor in each of the centers of the edges. And also we've got a redstone tube frame to the right of each motor if you're staring at the edge of the face like this. So to the right is a tube frame, to the right is a tube frame, all the way around, like so. And also the motors, you want to have their, yeah, that's right. You want to have their drive faces pointing counterclockwise around the outside edge of this 5x5 square. And obviously you can see here the drive faces are pointing downwards, because as I say, this is the top module of 2. And that counterclockwise is very, very important in order for everything to come together the way that we want it to. So you come over here, we've added another 3x3 square in the middle of that guy out of regular support frames. Now the color coding convention throughout this build, red is a panel, green is a cover. So if you see it on a frame, red means stop. Red panels are sticky, they won't let you go, they make you stop. Green covers, let things move, let things slide against them. Green, go. That's the logic. You get what I'm at. We've got the plus-shaped thing out of the panels, and then the 4 blocks in each corner are covers. And then you come up here, we've got panel, hollow panel. Now you can find, I've got a hollow cover here to give you an idea. You can find hollow panels. Get rid of that. Why? Damn it. You can find hollow panels in NEI if you're not sure how to make them. They're just 8 regular panels in a crafting grid. Panel, hollow panel, all the way around. Again, patterns repeating and repeating. And then we come over here. We've got a wireless receiver on one panel, red alloy wire, and then the hollow panel is just still doing its thing. And again, repeated all the way around for each of the 4 motors. And then we've got this guy, which is the red alloy wire, the jacketed red alloy wire, which I used red jacketing just so you can see at a glance what kind of wire it is. And this is important. You need the little piece of red alloy wire, this guy here, to connect to the wireless receiver. It won't connect to just the jacketed cable. So that's why you need the red alloy wire, and then you stitch the cable to it. You just put it on top. And then over here, the jacketed cable connects to the redstone tube frame and transmits whatever redstone signal this guy has got across, in this case to the motor. So this is how we're sending the drive signals to all of the motors, is with the wireless receiver. We'll set it on a particular frequency, and then we can trigger that frequency when we want that motor to move. So that's what we've done so far. Then we come over here, we build another 3x3 square on top of the other 3x3 square, and it's just regular support frames. And I guess for clarity, as long as I didn't hide these ones too, as well, you want to take and you want to put like that, one on each, and then to those 2 guys that we put on there, you attach this 5x5 square of redstone tube frame. Again, because the redstone tubes will carry the redstone signal, but also because this is where we're going to be sending our rechargeable blue electric batteries to charge our battery boxes that will be responsible for providing power to our motors. Now, very important detail, once you've added this square of tube frames, is you want to come underneath and put panels over all of these cables here. Otherwise, these cables are going to connect to these tube frames. They're going to be sending a signal that way as well. Or worse, the pulse that you're going to be getting through this here that's going to be pulsing the filters and retrievers is also going to be trying to pulse your motors. So that's the worst case scenario. So get some panels underneath here. Make sure these guys are only going where they're supposed to go. Then you come over here, and this is my common setup if you guys follow anything that I do with Blue Electric Power, moving it across long distances. Retriever, ender chest, filter. The filter is set to pull full Blue Electric batteries out of the ender chest into the tube network, and connected to the tube network will be these battery boxes that receive the full batteries. They take the blue electricity out of the full batteries. The retriever pulls the empty blue electric batteries out of the battery boxes into the ender chest, where it can be recharged. So really, really simple. I do this, everything involving blue electricity. It's the same setup. And here we've got panel, hollow panel, only this time the hollow panel is on edge, wireless receiver, red alloy wire, cable, and in this case we only need the one cable because it connects to the alloy wire and the vertical frame as well. So again, repeating that pattern forever and ever. So that's it. We've got the means of getting the blue electric batteries into the circuit, and now we put the battery boxes on to receive them. I've got 12 here, which is overkill, I would suspect, but there's no kill like overkill, so I'm not exactly going to apologize for it. You can see also I've got a piece of the jacketed blue alloy wire connecting to the batteries and the retriever, because the retriever needs blue electricity, and in order to make sure that this guy doesn't cause problems, I put another regular support frame here with a panel on the side of it, so this wire here is actually stuck to this frame, which is exactly what we want. We don't want this guy dangling free. It's just bad news. And then all we have left to do is get the blue electricity from the batteries to the motors. And you can see what I did is I put a strip of frames here with panels on them, connected the jacketed blue wire, goes that way, so another way we go like this, like this, like this. And then we put the 3 panels, the 3 pieces of blue wire, connects everything. Bob's your uncle. That's it. That's the top section. Now, like I say, obviously there's no chunk loader in here, but you could plop one right there if you wanted. You could plop one in any of these, you know, adjacent to any of these frames down that middle section. You can put one here. Like, there's no shortage of places to put the chunk loader, but we still need to do the bottom section. So we're going to come over here And you're going to see pretty much the same sort of pattern repeated, only little minor differences. These 4 support frames are to remind me, to remind you, not to build this section on the ground. If you're new to support frames, that would be a reasonable mistake to make, but you would regret it. We never build frame structures on the ground because they will not move, because they'll be stuck to the ground. So you always want to elevate them a little bit. And then in this case, instead of a 5x5 square of redstone tube frames, we've got 3 regular support frames breaking it up. So it's a horseshoe of redstone tube frames and then 3. So it's still 5x5, just those 3 support frames in the middle. Then we come over here, panel, hollow panel, receiver, alloy wire, cable, retriever, ender chest, filter, and also on each end we've got another redstone tube frame just connecting the filter and the retriever to the network. So this guy is going to be providing the pulse to make the filter and the retriever work. These guys are going to be feeding the batteries around for our battery boxes, which are right here. So we got 3 battery boxes on each strip and a regular support frame on each side. We get over here, the first before anything else thing that I want to point out is these 2 panels on top of the redstone tube frames. Very important because we're going to be putting more redstone tube frames on top of them, and we don't want the signals to mix. So put the covers on there, or the panels on there. Then we've got here, we put a 3x3 plus sign of regular support frames in the bottom layer. It's kind of tough to see just because of the way they all merge together, but you get the idea, right? And then we put panels on top of them. And then we put the blue jacketed blue wire on top of that, and this is going to be what's providing the power to the motors. And then we've also got this piece here that's providing power to the retriever. Just like we had to do with the top module, we have to get power to the retriever. Now, one of the ways that you can make sure this guy doesn't cause problems is you can put a regular support frame down underneath here, right here, and then put a panel on top of it, and that'll solve your problems. Or you can do what I did, which I'll show you over here, is we're going to be putting a frame over top of it. So either or, just keep that in mind, that you want to make sure that this guy is attached to a frame somehow, somewhere. And we get this sort of pinwheel design, and this actually was part of a previous design that I was working on before I got to this stage, and I kept it because I found it helpful for placing certain things in the next step. So if you're wondering why the hassle, why the nonsense, because that's what worked for me. These are redstone tube frames again, and you can see if we're looking down again at the square, sort of bottom left corner, up, right. And we turn and we go, and we're looking down at the square, bottom left corner, up and right. And then again, bottom left corner, up right, bottom left corner, up right. And then if you put a panel on the underside of this guy, if you're sneaky enough to do it, then that will also hold that blue wire, that piece of blue wire in the corner. You can see I've got a panel there, and actually what I did was I broke that. Oh, crap. So I basically came along and it was like this because I didn't have the wire there yet. I put a panel there and put the wire there. So either or, they both work. And then additionally, you want to go around, and again, you want to check and make sure that you've got panels on these guys anywhere where they might cross signals with something else. So in this case, it's looking like this was the only spot that was going to be a problem right there. But you just want to be keeping an eye out for that and not letting things get sort of bunged up that way. So this again is what's going to be sending the control signal to the motors. So the way we've got it set up, the motors are going to be, well, you can see them right there. They're kind of a plus shape sort of shenanigan. So we want to also get panels on, see where we've got 2 frames side by side. Get a panel on the left one, like that, left, 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 and that way it'll receive a redstone signal from this side, the motor will, but not this side. So again, that's an important detail. And then when you put that pinwheel on each side, you'll be left with the 3 frames upon which you can place panel, hollow panel, receiver, red alloy wire, cable. All the way around 4 times, like so. And then you come up here, and I'm all turned around. Here we go. Then you can put your motors into place on top of the blue alloy wire, and you can see the one block in the middle, all the arrows facing in towards the middle. Now, if we were just coming over here from here, it would have that pinwheel sort of thing going on. I'll just leave those two. Right, we've got the two exposed blocks there on top of the battery boxes, 2 there. So if you go like this and you put a support frame directly behind the motor, and then to the left and a panel, and then behind the motor to the left and a panel, behind the motor to the left and a panel, behind the motor to the left and a panel, because these panels are the ones that the top unit are going to push on. So the location of these is absolutely critical. They have to be in that position, otherwise everything won't line up properly. And then covers. Covers all over the place. Green covers everywhere that you can find room for a cover. Now, realistically, like obviously you can see I squished them together and I started testing them. You can leave it here until you get the vertical drive components into place. Or you can put temporary motors on the side and hook them up to your power supply and push whatever you want to do. What I want to do is make this guy move. So this is an identical copy to that one over there, and it's the only difference is I've set up the frequencies on the receivers. Now, we're not going to go into this in any detail now. We're going to be covering all of that in the control episode, but it's nothing really complicated. You just have different motors that you want to drive and you give a frequency to each. Now, in this case, these are the motors that are driving it like so. So now the key here that you'll notice is that we've met the requirement of having one stationary to preserve function of its chunk loader while the other one moves. And then after this guy moves, he's stationary, his chunk loader is working properly. Now this guy moves. So there's a period of time where both have active chunk loaders and a period of time where only one has an active chunk loader. One is all we need. So we're doing exactly what it is we set out to do. Now, one of the nice things about a unit this size is that as things go, for what is currently a 2-axis drive, this is bulky and ugly and heinous. It is not compact at all. But for a twin chunk loader drive with onboard power supply for days and days and days and whatever else you can imagine, we're in good shape. And you can see it's not causing any performance issues to move. It's not flickering. It's not shearing. It's not doing any of those things that some of the really monolithic frame builds can do. It's not going to get that much bigger. It's going to get bigger, but not by much. So the next episode, up and down and force fields. There's quite a bit to talk about with regards to setting up force fields. So I hope you're enjoying the concept. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, you want to be notified when I add the next video, the easiest way for that to happen is for you to subscribe to my channel. So thanks for watching, guys, and take care.